Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sinead Says podcast. So this week we are going to do a little bit of answering questions like big sister style, because I put up a question box of like what you wanted and suggestions and feedback, and people were like, oh, I'd love just some advice episodes. And I feel like sometimes I don't get my advice bit at the end of my podcast because I don't want them to be an over an hour, because I feel like when people see over an hour podcasts, they're like, that's too long. So I feel like they need to be under an hour, and I'm always like conscious of that. So I've been doing like at the end where I hear from you, and I feel like the last two episodes we never got to do that. So I feel like this episode is dedicated to being a big sister and to being an agony aunt and giving advice. All right. I mean, I love doing that. I feel like that's my life. You guys wrote in a few messages, dilemmas. I'll do a quote of the week, all the jazz. I'm actually like, this is such a, what's the personalities, A and B? Am I an A or B? I can't remember, but I always feel like it's a yellow personality. Like, I'm literally flying tonight to Ireland for my cousin's wedding where I'm a bridesmaid. And because I had that disaster last week, guys, it has sent me like that recording disaster. I had that disaster where that didn't record, and I'm really distraught because I really want you to hear that. And I just know that Serena is not even available really. I'm really trying to get an in-person one with her because I just love the human behavior and everything of Love is Blind, stuff like that. And you know what? I am really guilty of this. I'm guilty of like not asking people on my podcast. I feel like, I don't know, like I just feel like I'm like, would they want to come on? I don't know. I'm guilty of that. I feel like I eat myself up, and then I'm just like, no, I'll just do my own podcast, or I don't know. Sometimes I just need to like, reach out to people to get them on, but let me know who you would want on as well, because I feel like the new year, I need to reach out a little bit more. I love doing my solo podcast. Like, I feel like I get what I need to say in them, and I feel like I'm really flowing with everything. And like, obviously I've done a few courses lately as well, and they're kind of coming out, and I'm going to be learning a lot more next year when I do a degree. And you're going to be learning so much more with me. So have fun. What am I even talking about? Because I had a bit of a disaster last week, and then now I'm going to Ireland, and I'm one podcast behind my usual. So I'm usually like one ahead, and I'm like, I am lost. Like, it's until Sunday. This is out on Tuesday. Am I okay? And even today, I'm like, I'm flying tonight. I'm like, where even is my passport? You know what I mean? But you know what? You need these people in your life, and it's it's like different characters make an interesting life. Sometimes I wish I could be more like my mom or Sam, like a little bit more organized, but that just wouldn't be me. That wouldn't be me. And a great book actually for that is Surrounded by Idiots, Understanding Another Person. I have talked about Surrounded by Idiots before in season 1. And if you want me to talk about it again, it's a really good way of understanding all different personality types and how we work. And it made me understand me. Because I beat myself up all the time about not being like organized and stuff like that. But then when you know how to handle it, and you know how to get, and you know exactly what it is, and you know what helps you, and you learn about yourself, then like you can master it. And also like, it's such a blessing to have this sort of personality. And then, especially because like we're less anxious because we're more, what do you call that? Like, what do you call it? Blasé, more blasé. But when you learn about all your different personality types, you can also connect with other people a little bit better and understand them a bit better. So Surrounded by Idiots. But yeah, I'm a yellow personality. Or is it type A or type B? I don't know. I don't know the type A, type B personality traits. I'm going to be doing a few episodes. Well, I will talk about the few episodes. Like, I'm going to probably do Getting Out of a Rut, the like maybe neuroscience, psychology version of it. Personally, I was in a bit of a rut when I came out of hospital the other week. I just like had absolutely no energy, felt really sick, felt really, really bad health anxiety, and just, when you take loads of antibiotics and you've already got a really bad gut, and I already suffer with candida and candida overgrowth and stuff like that, and that's just like gets really intense after antibiotics. And then like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that was going on, and then I had health anxiety, and then I kind of got stuck in this loop, and also was really tired and never went to the gym and stuff. So I was kind of in a wee bit of a rut. So I thought the next episode, or the episode of that, is going to be like getting out of a rut, because I feel like I'm coming out the other end, guys. So thanks for asking. And I also, I see, when I was doing this podcast, when I started this podcast, I used to read loads of books on like male, female, like different behaviors of male and female. And I love that. And like, like Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, stuff like that. And I feel like I brought out all those old books, and I was like, maybe I'll put together what those books say about men, and then we can get into men's head. You know what I mean? Like the things they say that what are different from men to women and how to connect, or not connect, but how to understand them more. I thought that would be a very good episode. So that's coming. And also, we are having a live show in Sydney on January 15th. I feel like it's coming up really quick, and I'm really nervous and really excited. And like, I feel like I'm a wee bit over my head with it. If I'm being totally honest. Me and Sam were just doing it on our own. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Like, I'm like, as if me and Sam were just trying to navigate this. And then I was like, I need an MC, and I really wanted my friend to do it, and then he couldn't do it because he's not going to be here. And I was like, oh my God, I'm really sad about that because I feel like he would have been so good. So now I'm a bit panicked, like, who could be my MC? Anyway, because obviously we had Jerry Labs last year for our Dublin show, which he was honestly so good. Obsessed with him. By the way, he has a podcast called Pop My Cherry. That's really good. So that's coming up January 15th. The tickets are in the notes. Also, by the time you're listening to this, I'm probably sure it's going to be Black Friday. So Black Friday, we're having a 30% off sale with the Braveway 21 days and the Braveway Hub app. So you're getting a 30% off the year. Get yourself onto that. If you've been thinking about meditating, you've been thinking about signing up, like this is your opportunity because we hardly ever do discounts and this big. So 30% off. And that just means like the 21-day course is like, what is that, £30? And then you can also buy them as gifts, buy them as gifts for your friends, family. And we give you like a lovely little gift voucher. You can put it in like a little box for your loved ones. It's just a really nice present. So, and just get so much amazing feedback. And we are adding meditations all the time. We're having a self-compassion meditation challenge for Christmas because I feel like every month we have a new challenge in there where we do 7 to 10 to 14-day meditation challenges, and they kind of relate to like the season or what's going on in the world. So like obviously in January we will be doing like manifesting, goal setting, removing blocks, all that stuff. Whilst like I feel like December we like to chill a little bit. We like to relax and we like to enjoy and indulge. And I feel like self-compassion is the way to go on a December challenge. So if you're in the membership hub as well, make sure to join that. Another thing I'd like to say is like, it really helps me if you share the podcast, and it really helps me if you give a review as well. So thank you for that. And then thank you for sharing. I do see some people sharing. I know last week we had a little bit of fear of commitment, and I was kind of late to promoting it because I was late to putting it up due to the whole situation. And then loads of people are listening, like my friends are like, no, Sinead, I feel seen. Because a lot of my friends that are girls, they just don't, like, if you're avoiding dating, you're just like, oh, I don't want to date. Sometimes you just kind of think like you're just can't be arsed for dating, but like you do have this with girls, obviously, when they're dating, when they're avoidant or when they're fear of commitment, they just kind of avoid dating altogether. And when you realize that and realize all the reasons why, then you can be really hit with a bit of a shock. But that's good because then you put a label on it and then you can help. You know what I mean? So we're going to dive into some questions, but I can do a quote of the week first. I seen this wee thing on TikTok and it was like, today I learned about a term called a glimmer, which is the opposite of a trigger. So glimmers are those moments in your day that make you feel joy, happiness, peace, or gratitude. Once you train your brain to be on the lookout for glimmers, these tiny moments will appear more and more. I love that. So it's like the opposite of a trigger. Obviously, a trigger makes you like really heightened and really anxious and high heart rate. And then like a glimmer is like those moments in your day where you just feel like you've just having a little bit of like gratitude or joy. And I feel like over time, I've had so much more of those just because obviously I do gratitude journaling. I literally do abundance meditations. And I just feel like I'm so lucky all the time. So I just feel like there's so much like glimmer in my life. And like the more you train your brain to glimmer, the more you see. And then your life just becomes one big fat glimmer. Highly recommend. Like obviously through meditation as well, your mind completely shifts to the glimmer life. I feel like I should do a meditation. I actually had a meditation called Polish the Present. Which was inspired by this girl that says her granny says that you need to polish the present, and told her about how to polish moments of the present. And like, you know, like you're putting on your clothes and you're polishing the present. You're like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I got to choose my own clothes today. And like, you just polish the present with like gratitude and love and glimmer. So I thought that was a really cute little thing. And I know we're all full of positivity here on the Sinead Says podcast. So yeah, we're going to do our questions today because I feel like, have I been neglecting y'all? Yes, I have. I'm sorry. I feel like I get so caught up with the topics. Like last week, we were doing fear of commitment. And guys, I could have talked about that for a very long time. I could have went on and on. And you can hear the expression in my voice. What one did I do today? Oh, the resentment one. That is my bread and butter. Like talking about emotions and human behavior. But another one, if you love emotions, the podcast Dealing with Envy. Also, if you're ever dealing with people who you feel like are jealous of you, or you're feeling like envy is coming up in your life, that's a good one. Like that is also my bread and butter. Like that rolls off the tongue. Anything to do with like emotions, understanding yourself better, blah, 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 whatever. We can get into the questions. I feel like I might need Sam to help me with a few questions because, some of them need to be debated. So if this is your first time listening to this podcast, I don't usually just do full advice, big sister vibes, like all the way through. I usually do like a topic and then I do quote of the day and then but I just feel like I've been neglecting the questions. So I felt like this is a good opportunity as well because I'm a podcast behind. So this will get me ahead. So thank you for your suggestions. Love you all so much. The first one, straight in with it. Best friend is back with cheating ass of an ex. He knows I don't like him. Advice. Look, I've been in this situation. I've been on one end where I have been cheated on, and almost a few of my friends were like, absolutely not, and didn't want to be friends with me or wanted to take a step back because I decided that. I've also been in a situation where my friends have been cheated on or treated like absolute complete garbage. And then it's really, really hard for me to, navigate that friendship. But I'm going to tell you, my own experience in this. As someone who took back someone who was cheating, I felt like you're always going to make your decision. And taking back someone who's cheated is actually very common because we're in so much pain and we just want the pain to stop. It's very different than gradually thinking that you're not right for each other or, like drifting away. You're with someone, you love them, they have betrayed you so much. The pain is so intense that you are just in so much pain. So the only way you know how to get out of that pain is to get back with that person, because that person is what is causing the pain, because you're not with them and you're so sad. And obviously this person is probably begging for you back and you're like, oh, they made a mistake. So this is very common. They want to, and that's how you have to see it. Like, have compassion for your friend. Like, she is just trying to stop her pain. You also, for me, one of the hardest things for me was like my friends like not helping me and being there for me and understanding, because at the end of the day, I was going to see the light, but sometimes you just have to see it yourself. It's just hard. And then when you see it yourself, your friend should be there. And even though like, I do think you should say your piece and be really disappointed and talk to your friend, especially depending on how bad, because I'm not condoning this thing, but your friend is going to do what she's doing and she's already made her decision. So like when your friend makes her decision, I do feel like you should always be there for them. But obviously it is very hard if they do this over and over and over again. I feel like that's a very different situation. Like I once had a friend and this guy was treating her like, oh, crap. And it was just over and over. And I was just like, look, this is just getting insane now. But at the end of the day, she just kept taking him back and taking him back. And I said my piece and all our friends said our piece. And there was even a point where all our friends were like, if he comes back into this country, we're going to be standing at the airport because he doesn't live in the country. We were like, this is not happening. We are going to stand at the airport and we're not going to let him to you because you're too weak for this shit. But anyway, she found out on her own, like for herself, when she was apart, and she was able to figure it out and do it in her own way. And now she's happy with someone else. And, we were all there for her and we didn't go against her. She didn't feel like we were just, what do you call that whenever we're like attacking her? We were just there for her. As hard as it may be, we were there for her. So I feel like that if I could give any advice, it would be that. So yeah, unfortunately, you just have to, your friend will figure it out. Cheating is a very, very difficult subject, because in what context, in what way how has he reacted? I have a podcast on he's cheated, what do I do now? So maybe get her to listen to that. These people these things have a way of figuring themselves out, and if they're not meant to be, and that person is still going to treat her like shit, like there will be a separation probably, and you're just going to have to be there for them. That's my own advice. Sorry, big sister vibes. So the next question is a very common question that happens a lot. Okay, how to try understand why someone ended things because they weren't ready, even though the relationship was great and they said I was amazing and that they'd never find anyone like me. If it was so great, as he said, how could they just let me go? Confused. Now, as someone who's been in this situation before, why can I give my own advice on everything? Because I've been through everything. See, this is what happens when you're 32, guys. I feel like no matter what happens here, when someone says they are not ready, even though they're completely compatible towards you, when they're not ready, you don't want to be with that person when they're not ready. I have personally been with someone who is mad about me and we're compatible, but like they weren't ready to be in a relationship. And you deserve to want to be with someone who wants to be in a relationship, because there's a very big difference in someone liking you and loving you and being like having the chemistry. And there's also a big difference in someone doing that, but also ready to be someone's partner. I talk about this all the time. There is just such a big difference on how that person treats you and how you feel in the relationship. I've had two of the same. I'm now with someone who I just know decided one day he wanted to be a partner, wanted to be a group partner, and now he's a great partner. And there is people in your life that come in and you're compatible and everything's good, but if they're not ready, you just have to take their word for it. As someone who's actually said to someone, I'm not ready for a relationship, even though you're an amazing person, I wasn't ready because I was so broken and I just didn't want to get hurt again. And I just felt like I didn't want to answer to anyone. I didn't want to think about anyone. I felt like the only thing I could try and look after was myself at that time. And the person that I had said this to was the person that I'm with now, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I actually met him 6 years ago. And I wasn't, he was an amazing person. I thought like he was such an amazing person. He could be an amazing partner. But for me at that time, I was so broken and I was so hurt by a past relationship, as and I just could not imagine going down that road again. So I needed to just keep by myself and build myself up and trust myself. And then that's how, and like, I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky because, that person was single and I was single at the same time again. And that, I just think that these things happen for a reason. And like that person could just force themselves because they really like you and it's really good. But if they're not in a place, like you don't want to be with that person who's not in that place. You want to be with someone who literally is like, how can I make that person's day better? How can I cheer up today? Like who can hold space for you when you're low? Who can go through hardships with you? Like you want that. So please hold out for that. I mean, somebody says, I can never let my guard down with a boy. I always end up cutting them off early and run. Okay. I feel like you're an avoidant attachment style or you're having a little bit of fear of commitment. So you need to go to the podcast before this, because that podcast is all about fear of commitment and that will help you understand yourself and help you break free a little bit as well. Actually, when we're in the middle of this, obviously we can talk about therapy because that's something that's obviously going to help you, because that's what helped me with my fear of commitment. So, and as you know, the sponsor of the podcast is BetterHelp, which is an online therapy platform, and it has loads of therapists on there. You can pick your Zoom calls. They also have group webinars, and BetterHelp has helped me so much with my business, my life, my relationships, my chronic illness. There's so many reasons to go to therapy, and it's so handy when you can just go on your laptop, go on your phone, choose your time, choose your date. It's kind of like there's hardly anything in the way, which is a really good thing to get you there. And then you can just cozy up on your sofa and talk to your therapist and figure out what's going on in your head, untangle those thoughts. So if you would like to try therapy, I highly recommend BetterHelp. And you can get 10% off your first month with betterhelp.com/Sinead. That is betterhelp.com/Sinead. So we'll just get back to the questions. This is quite relevant because I'm going to be a bridesmaid this week. Anxious beyond belief over bridesmaids and having to tell other friends they're not the one. Oh my God, guys. I feel like I don't know how I would even, like when I think about my bridesmaids, I'm like, I want, like, who would I have and how would I, and then I was like, oh, and then I would have to have them. And then I feel like this is such a difficult thing to navigate, but I also feel like I'm a very understanding person. I actually remember, like, when my brother got married and my friends got married and I expected to be bridesmaid, like I thought that, like just because like I was his sister or like I was their friend, that like that's just like a natural thing. But then I realized that like that's so silly. Like you want the people that you love the most and that you share most of your life with, and that you want to be there with you every moment of every day. You shouldn't pick someone because like, you feel like you have to. Like I don't feel like like I feel like everyone's really, really understanding, especially now that we're all a bit older getting married. You know what I mean? Like when we were like 20 something, you'd be like, oh my God. But I suppose it depends. Like I feel like don't do something just because you feel like you have to. Like, who do you want there? Who do you want to turn around and smile and laugh with on your wedding day? I don't think anyone would be annoyed, because you have to remember as well, like if you choose them to be a bridesmaid, right, they're probably think that they're obliged to choose you. Do you know what I mean? I feel like maybe they're probably worried about stuff as well. And then if you're already thinking that, then maybe, I don't know. I can't really understand. I always am really shocked when I get my, like I have been a bridesmaid twice this year, and I was actually so shocked when Gemma asked me. I was like, is she even serious? Like I've never been a bridesmaid, and I was like, oh my God, this is like so special. It's so special. And then my cousin asked me as well, which like we're very close. Like me and my cousin are very close, and her sister. So it's like the three of us, and we grew up together, and we're kind of like really, really, really close cousins. And it's actually so nice because it's like me, her, and her sister. And I'm like, that's such a nice little bridal party. But I just think like, I know you're really, really worried, but just take a breath and realize that like being a bridesmaid as well is not an easy job. Like it's a hard work. So people just want to relax sometimes as well. Like so not everyone wants to be a bridesmaid. So you have to understand that as well. Like I loved being a bridesmaid, but I also absolutely love being a guest at a wedding. And they're two completely different experiences. So they're both unique and different in their own way. And some people would rather just be a guest and they're happy to be a guest. And then like they're it's just different. So please don't worry about that. And I feel like my own experience has just been like, just be really understanding. Like everyone has to like pick, and it's fucking scary, but like I'm sure everyone will understand. Okay. Someone says, how to know your values in a relationship. I feel like there's obviously like a long list of values, but I feel like you're probably asking this question because people always say, if your values align, if your values align. So, you know, if I'm with someone and their values are like, top value is like home in Ireland, and they want to go move home in Ireland and have that life. Like right now, my values are like living in Australia and like with my friends over here. Like I feel like I've created my family. So I feel like my values are that. So my values would have to, the person that I'm with would have to align with that, especially at the beginning of your relationship. Like, and also like values, like, do you want to have kids? How do you want to parent? How do you want to live in terms of your career as well? Like, are you driven, ambitious? Also, adventurous is a massive one as well. Some people just being at home and being in their home comfort. Some people want to do the adventurous travel. And I feel like I used to have that as well. And that was like my top priority, to be adventurous. And then after a while, like your values changed, and then it became security and commitment. So understanding your values is just like, what do you want for your future? Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a full podcast on how to find out your values, because when I did my life coaching, we do like a whole thing on values and how to help people find their values. And I'll take you through like a few questions maybe, and I can really get you into it. Because I even remember when I did mine with my life coach, they would just be like, they would ask you just like adventure or security. And then you would pick one, and then they'd be like security or love. And then they would say like, and then you would keep going with that and keep going with that. But then it's mad because like years ago, my top priorities or my top values are very, very different to my values now. But I do think like when you're with someone and you know that you're not aligned in your values, it can just be very hard to navigate. Like if your top value is like freedom and going out with your friends, drinking at the weekends, you know, that's happened to me in my past relationship. Like that was their values. And at the time when I met them, like I was having fun and going out with my friends at the weekends. And then all of a sudden, you know, my life changed. I got endometriosis, adenomyosis, and I just, you know, my values were like my health, like my future children, my, like that became my values. So then like when values then become misaligned with your partner, sometimes that can just lead to a very, well, you end up fighting a lot, to be honest, because your values aren't aligned. But it's hard to understand, because you're like, why are we fighting? But we were fine before, because people's values can change all the time in relationships. And that's totally, totally fine. But when you know your values and then you're looking at your partner and you're like, your values actually don't align with me anymore, that's when you can start to navigate the relationship again and try to understand it a wee bit more. So you can get to this point of, are we going to be aligned at one point again? Or is this going to be something that we're going to continue fighting about? So someone said, I need advice on how to stop constantly thinking about my weight. It's always on my mind. Honestly, we were talking about this in book club the other day. I'm reading this book called Women Living Deliciously. It's by this girl called Florence, and she also wrote Women Don't Owe You Pretty. And she talks about this this common experience of women constantly not being present and not finding the full joy ever because, or not being fully present ever, because most of the time, all women are conscious about how they look, and they, most of the time, everywhere we go. She even talks about this time where she literally couldn't breathe because she was sucking in that much all the time. And she realized that it was causing her harm. And she was like breathing really shallow because everywhere she went, she was so conscious of her body that she was like sucking in. And we were all talking about this in book club, and we were like, every single one of us feel the exact same, which is so sad. And I feel like I've personally gotten so much better over the years. It's mad. I hate it. I hate that women feel like this. And I hate that we never fully enjoy the present moment, because there's always something in the back of our minds saying that we're conscious of how we look. And the only advice I can give is things that have helped me, I guess, help with my body image. Like, I definitely think over years, like, I have been better. I feel like our generation does have this constant cycle of body image issues, which is so sad. And hopefully, the younger generation are finding it better than us. And I really hope they do, because years ago we probably heard there was a lot of shaming of people's bodies constantly, on the magazines. You would hear people talk about people that had put on weight and all this. Whereas now you would never say that. You would never, our generation would never be like, have you seen something put on weight? Right. Like, that's really not nice. And like, we try as a generation to not body shame, because we know how much damage it does to us unconsciously. It's not hot gossip. It's completely damaged, not only to us, but to our younger generation, who, if they hear us, will internalize that. But I think that there has been things that have helped me. Like, also, I feel like I had a belief system that there is a perfect body, and like, I was always on the path to try and get this perfect body. But the day things changed for me was when I met so I said this in a love podcast before, is that I think one of the main things that helped me is, like, I feel like there was a belief that, like, there is a perfect body, and like, I'm trying to achieve it, and it's constantly there, and like, you're just trying to look like this thing. And I thought, like, that is like the perfect body, right? When I had met someone who was like someone I looked up to as someone who had the perfect body, and I met them and they hated their body, and I listened to them hate their body and not even want to take a photo because they felt like they looked fat, I was just like, what is the point? Like, what is the point in having these bodies if we don't even enjoy them? I feel like that book, Women Living Deliciously, makes you understand it a little bit more, because most of the time we are conscious of our bodies and we don't like our bodies, but we think it's because our bodies aren't good, when that's not true. When you read books like Women Live Deliciously, you start to understand patriarchy. It's on a whole other podcast in itself. The way I can describe patriarchy is like, why we take man's name. It's a man's world, basically, and men have driven us into this like society of like, we need to have certain bodies, we need to have this, whatever. And I don't want to get too much into that, but anyway, understanding like the background of it all, and understanding that like society and the media has drawn us to think we should be a certain way, that brings awareness to the fact that it's actually society that has made us think this, and it's a belief system that we've instilled in ourselves. And then when we become aware of that, which I understand I do have body image issues, right? I'm 100% better, but I'm so aware that my body is beautiful in the way it is, and that there is no perfect body. I'm aware that society makes us feel like our bodies aren't good enough, and it doesn't mean that my body isn't good enough. Sometimes you can, and I think that big difference, even though like we're not 100% there of like a fully accepting and loving our bodies, like we get there here and there, like we're getting better and better and better at accepting who we are. But I do feel like that awareness of realizing, yeah, I feel like this because society has made me feel like this. It's not, I'm ugly. I look like shit. Like, I think that was kind of like the pattern that goes on in your head that makes you feel like that. And then when you start to understand things like patriarchy and stuff like that through these books, then you do start to melt away body hatred, I would say, more than anything. Like for me, it definitely was like, oh, okay. So I feel like that because of that, because of that. It's not because my body isn't it's not because my body is horrible. It's because society's made me think that my body's horrible. And then like there's a big shift there, even though it sounds like there's not, but there is a big shift. And books like that really help me love myself and to make me understand where it all comes from. So Women Living Deliciously, Women to Know You Pretty, another amazing book that helped me with my self-love journey is The Mastery of Love. I'm trying to think of any other books that help me with I think honestly as well, like following people and just people who are just living in their body. And I just love watching people, and I love also having the awareness of when I'm on the beach, when I look at another person's body, I don't never judge their body. And that means that no one's judging me. And I always do that whenever we're at a retreat. I always like take my clothes off and like be like, do you care what my body looks like to the people at the retreat? Because obviously in the retreat is hot and people might want to, get into the bikinis. People might not want to. And I just make sure that I'm like, do you care about my body? And usually they're like, no. And I'm like, sometimes we get in our head and think that everyone cares about our body and that everyone's judging us. But realistically, if I say to you right now, do you care about my body? Do you judge my body? Is there anything? And they're like, well, no. And it's hard. It's better said than done. I'm going on with this question, but I feel like that's a whole podcast in itself. And I feel like when I finish this book, Women Living Deliciously, I feel like I'm going to come on and talk about everything that I learned from that book. It's already proven to be a very interesting book. So highly recommend that. Someone in says, I've been on the rocks with my boyfriend for 6 years. He says he really wants this, but doesn't make any effort or show it. What I would say, I'm going to say a simple answer to this. I'm going to say, can you write down everything that you want in a partner? Qualities, things that you do together, the way you want to feel, and ask yourself, is that what's in front of you? Because sometimes we stay together because we're scared to be alone. And it's crazy because even I see some people and I just feel like, who they're with people and they are constantly not getting what they deserve. And I'm just like, I really wish you could feel the love that I feel, or I wish you could feel being with someone who absolutely adores you and shows you everything. And some people don't believe that they deserve that. You know what I mean? So like when you gain self-worth about yourself and self-love and you're like, no, actually I do deserve to be taken out, to have words of affirmation, to have intimate moments with. And then like when you feel like that, that's when you start getting those feelings of wanting to move away from your partner because that self-worth comes in. But yeah, I would really just write down what you want in a partner and the way you want to feel, qualities you want, things you'd like to do with your partner. You can always tell your partner, this is exactly what I want from a relationship. Is this something that you can give me, that you can give them an opportunity to step up? It's amazing when people, understand what they need and want. And then people step up. Because sometimes how are you mentioning what you want if you don't tell them? So that's my advice there. So I'm going to do one more question. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode because it's different from my normal episodes. So if you like my advice episodes, please let me know so I can do more of them. Because obviously I research a topic and I get all my books out and I put everything together. And then that's most of the episodes. And then this one is quite natural for me and I can just give advice. So let me know if you really like this. I've got one more question, but I feel like it's kind of a question that me and Sam should answer together because it's kind of about, I feel like there needs to be a bit of a debate to this question. So I'll just run and get him and I'll just give him a mic. I brought Sam in for this one because I feel like it's a couple question and it's quite a debatable question. So my partner earns 4 times as me. He's always busy working, so no time for chores or buying the food, washing clothes, but still expects me to do everything and pay 50-50. Says it'll pass, but it's been 4 months. It's taking the piss now. You need to be close.
I need to be close. Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's probably a bit of a grey area, isn't it? Because if he's earning 4 times the amount, should he pay 4 times in rent? I don't necessarily think so, but I would say if it's all 50-50 and you're paying rent 50-50, the chores should be 50-50.
You just stole my answer. Do you know what he just said there? Now I was like, can you help me answer this question? We'll debate it. And he was like, I don't know what to say to that. He's like, well, what would you say before we come on? And it goes, well, I feel like had a different answer to that. But did you?
I didn't have a different answer. I just don't know how
You just didn't want to offend anyone.
Yeah, like.
But that is the reason why you need to relax on the podcast. For me, right, when Sam comes on the podcast, I feel like you don't even see like the true Sam because he's so worried about what other people perceive of him on the podcast. Not in real life, by the way. He couldn't give a flying fuck. But like he's worried that you're going to cancel him.
No, like, I'm not worried about getting cancelled.
The thing about a podcast is that you have to be your full opinionated self. If you get cancelled, you get cancelled.
It's just as soon as there's the camera there, then it's a bit like, ooh.
Yeah.
But okay, so I think there's an element of 50-50. There's an element of who pays more. You're kind of, depends on how much, I mean, she said
right. I feel like it's not like, this is the modern day world. If you're paying 50-50, the chores are 50-50, you work more. I can understand if he paid more money and it wasn't 50-50 and you would feel like, oh, maybe I will just clean up a little bit more or I will do the chores, and you probably wouldn't mind it.
But if that person, if it's a comparison which is relative as well and it's fair, like, is this person working full-time as well as their partner working full-time? Okay, she did say her partner worked a little bit more, but is that out of choice or a commission base where he's got the opportunity to earn more? If they're both working full-time, she's not got that much time either, or them haven't got that much time either. Like, you know, ultimately they're making it happen and squeezing it into their time. Like, everybody has full-time jobs. We all work. You know, I come home and sometimes it's spotless, or sometimes I'll be like, well, what's this doing out? But I shy away from the fact that you've hoovered. Well, we've turned the hoover on, you know, you've wiped all the sides down, you've cleaned everywhere. You know, I look past that and think, well, what's this doing here? Like, it looks like a mess, but actually, in actual fact, it's it's cleaner because you've cleaned it. You just left one thing out. Whereas if I was here,
there's difference, right? Because I feel like there's different needs, right? I would meet my own needs because Sam is not going to do the finishing touches of a girl. Like, he's not going to dust the shelves or make sure everything's clean. And I don't think he's ever fluffed a pillow in his life. You don't fluff a pillow.
The shelves are never dusty.
Babes, are you okay?
Yeah,
like, honestly, will you see now when I leave for 2 weeks how dusty everything gets, how disgusting everything gets? And the thing is, they're my needs. I feel like Sam could go without those and he could live his own life without me, right? And he wouldn't do those things. So it's very different, right? So there might be bits that I'll do and I'll call them wee needs bits. Like the wee women's touch that you feel when you come into the house, right? Well, it's like, when it comes to chores, right? I'll say to you, right, I've got a job for you. Right, can you do this? Can you do that? And that's part of it for us. And I do feel like our rent isn't actually 50-50, but that's because I pay for this room that we're in right now. But like, I think that doesn't really matter. I do feel like we are both working and we are both paying rent, so it would be 50-50. I wouldn't, like, if I'm paying more because I have this room, well, I'm going to expect you to do more chores. Do you think that's kind of
the expectation?
I just feel like you pull your weight, and like, obviously girls have a different needs to men, and sometimes I just get over it. I just be like, right, okay, like, I'm not going to be annoyed that he doesn't wipe down the sides or he doesn't do that. I just got to do it. That's my need sometimes. And I feel like I just meet my own needs and just do it. I'm not going to sit there and nag at him because he wouldn't do that if he was living on his own. So it's just, and he's learned a lot and I've learned a lot from him, and
I think we have our own categories. We have our own, what you like to do, what I do, what I don't like to do, what you don't like to do. We kind of make it work between us. It's not like we're going to go.
Yeah. But like, an answer to that question, I do feel like I would be giving it to him. I would be like, here, hon. No, it doesn't work like that. You just come back here and see the situation. It's not happening for me and I'm not okay, because guess what? Honey, if you're listening to this, like the resentment podcast, a few episodes behind, that talks about like what resentment turns into, and you're going to end up with this roommate resenting him, and you're going to have this emotional distance between you because you are already resenting him by this feeling. So it needs to be addressed ASAP. Rocky.
I mean, when you were saying about dusting down the sides and you think it's going to be dusty here when you come back, it's not. I'm instantly just thinking, right, I need to text a cleaner.
Yeah, but you are going to get a cleaner and I'm going to be obsessed with it.
And again, he should be getting a cleaner. If he's earning 4 times the amount of salary, he could alleviate a bit of pressure and say, I'll get a cleaner every month or every 2 weeks. You don't have to worry about the cleaning in that area. Thanks for doing the shopping. And again, is he thanking you? Is he grateful for it?
Is he buying you flowers? Because I always say to Sam, what do I say to you?
buy me flowers.
I don't say that.
No. Well, you don't always say that. Like, for example, the time that I brought her a bunch of flowers previously and she left one flower in the vase, I walked past it and thought, oh, that's nice. That's lasted a while. That was all that went through my head. Look how long that's lasted. But then it took you about a week to tell me I left one flower in the vase so that you would go, oh, the vase is empty. I'll refill it. But honestly, from a lad's point of view, I didn't intentionally not buy flowers again. It didn't cost my mum once to think. I just had the cup half full thinking, what a lovely flower.
Yeah, I just like cut one flower and put it in a really, really tiny vase. And this one pink flower in this wee tiny vase. And I just thought it was so cute, but also like hint, hint, there's only one flower left. And I've been making it last because it's so pretty.
But I did buy them flowers. They've lasted forever.
These are from Temu.
Oh, there you go.
I'm obsessed with them. And that was what the vase was in. But anyway, yeah, that's it. I do feel like when they appreciate you as well, obviously flowers is very different than like chores, but at the same time, sometimes I do my wee bits and then he just gets me flowers and that makes everything, because sometimes I'm like, why can't you do the wee bits? But then I'm like, I just do the wee bits.
Mm.
But you're going to do wee bits now on your own, aren't you?
I am, yeah. It's going to be spotless.
It's going to be a mess. Whenever I was away, one of our friends was like chatting to me the other day and he goes, went to see your house. So then I was, when did you come to see my house? And I was away up in Byron or something. And he was like, I goes, oh my God, you were in when I wasn't there. And I goes, was it a mess? And she's like, or no, he was like, there was shit everywhere, Sinead, everywhere. I was like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed. No, one of our friends came to see our apartment when it was new and I wasn't here.
And I was here.
Yeah, you brought them in.
Bullshit.
And I goes, oh my God, you came to see our new house and I wasn't there to make sure it looked nice for you to come in.
What a snake. We probably just moved in.
Babes, I know exactly what it was like. You were on your own. There was shit everywhere because you rush out and everything's everywhere. Do you know I went on a mini strike this week? I went on a mini strike this week, guys, right? Because I was like, I'm not doing my bits.
And I striked as well.
He didn't even notice. And I was like, I'm not doing my bits, right? And there's stuff all over the place. And I goes, right, I'm not gonna pick up his stuff. I'm just gonna like see how long this goes for. Anyway, I went till Friday, and you know what? He slept in on Friday, and I just shut it off. And then you know what? I didn't even nag. I just did it.
And do you know what? From my point of view, I went on strike. I thought enough's enough. I do enough around this establishment. I'm going to put my foot down. And let's see how long it takes you to start pulling your weight. And it took you till Friday and you've done brilliant. So well done.
I came in from dinner and there was 2 plants sitting on the sink and sitting on the worktop. And I was like, why is there 2 plants? And he goes, there's water in them. And I was like, well, put them back.
Talk to me about the peace lily. The peace lily has blossomed.
But where are we putting it? Because honestly, our house has got too many plants and I can't cope with that anymore. I'm done.
It's really good oxygen.
This is not a jungle. This is a sanctuary.
It's good for you, for your breathing.
Well, the one that is hanging, like you'll probably see it on my Instagram stories, and everyone's like, "Is your fucking tree alright?" And I'm like, "No, it's not alright," and I hate it. And Sam loves it, and I have to just deal with it. Maybe it needs to be out of the light, out of the road.
I'm just bringing it back to life. I'm doing a good thing. It's like if somebody sees an injured pet, you know, you take it in, you think, right, I'm going to nurse this back to life. One day, someone's going to turn around and go, "That plant, unreal, what a job!" A bit like the shower.
Yeah, I think that plant would look really good in the garage.
We haven't got a garage.
It would look really good in the storage cage.
What, where it's no sunlight? Everybody knows.
Or maybe we just give it to our friends. Does anybody want a plant?
We'll do a swap.
For what?
Another plant, smaller one.
Okay. No, I think we need to get rid of both those plants. One in our room and one everything. Anyway, this turned into like a me and Sam podcast. But if you enjoy it, let us know, because Sam said to me today, what did you say to me today?
I said, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you did.
Cut.
What did you say?
I said, I hope you have a safe flight home.
No, you didn't. He's like, do you think we should start our own podcast?
I didn't say
And I goes, we might have a podcast.
You didn't say that.
You said, I know you have your own podcast.
Right, it's late. I need to get ready for work.
For work. Right, we actually have to go because I'm flying in a few hours and I haven't even packed.
A few hours.
I say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
While Sinead's here, you'll catch my podcast.
What's your podcast called?
As Sam says.
No. Sam says he loves Sinead.
Cut.
Good night, everybody.